Hello, everybody. As always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am Coach Paul, and this is the Ola Prime Market News Update. For the U.S. futures markets, their bullish sentiment today. The S&P 500 futures gained 0.3% and are currently trading at around 65.10. The Nasdaq behaved similarly, gaining about 0.5% on the day and currently trading at 23,825. And the Dow Jones gained about 0.3% and is trading at 45,630. On the international market news front, relatively light list of news today or this evening. The New Zealand manufacturing sales data came in today at negative 0.29%, which is a lot worse than what was the previous reading was of 2.4%. And then the UK British Retail Consortium sales data came in at positive 2.9%, which was much better than expected, with a figure of 2%, which this rise in demand has been attributed to roughly warmer weather, although much of the increase was driven by food prices. So just a little caveat there. As for the USD futures FX pairs, part of this section here, the US dollar showed some weakness for the second day in a row amongst the futures major currency pairs. The Euro USD broke out of the top of its 1 month range, gaining 0.36% on the day and currently sitting at 1.1777 as of this writing. CAD USD logged a modest gain of 0.15%, is currently trading at 0.7251. The Great British Pound had a green day against USD, gaining about 0.3% and is currently trading at 1.356. The Swiss franc gained 0.6% versus the US dollar and is currently trading at 1.2626. While the Japanese yen is roughly flat on the day compared to Friday's session close and is currently trading at 147.28 yen to the US dollar. AUD gained 0.54% against USD on the day, closing at 0.6594 and currently trading at 0.6598. Lastly, the New Zealand dollar gained 0.8% against the US dollar today, and the pair currently sits at 0.5946. On the cryptocurrency front, we are mostly positive across the board. Bitcoin is up 0.94% and currently trading at $112,241 as of this writing, while Ethereum is up about 0.6% and currently trading at $4,314. To touch on some other cryptos, we have Litecoin, which is actually the one that is down amongst this list. It's down 1.62%, trading at 112.50 on the day. XRP is up 3.94%, trading at $2.97, and Solana is up a whopping 6% on the day, trading at $214.88. On the commodity front, gold futures continued their bullish dominance today, gaining over 1% and are trading at roughly $3,673 per troy ounce. And silver futures followed with a gain of 1% as well and are currently trading at just shy of $42 per troy ounce. WTI crude oil futures gained 0.82% on the day and are currently trading at $62.47 per barrel after bouncing off the $62 support level we've been seeing develop over this past month. And now, without further ado, it is time for our Quiet Markets live trading session with both myself and Coach Tiger. So let's get to it, folks. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Coach Tiger. How are you doing today?
Oh, great. Doing great, my friend. It's a really good
Awesome.
Monday. How about your Monday?
It's going good, man. Going good. Small green day today in the futures markets for myself. I'll take it. It was like I was up about $135 to end the session. It was kind of more of one of those days where the morning um, was where the money was generally to be made, and then the late afternoon when we traded between 2:30 p.m. Eastern and 4 o'clock, it was just a bit rough. Daryl caught a pretty
Yeah,
good trade on the short side on the ES in the afternoon, but aside from that, it was a tough one. Like I didn't make any trades in the afternoon, unfortunately. There just really wasn't anything I could do, and I wanted to trade gold or something, but even gold was just bleh. So,
yeah,
but green, so that's good. How about you? How was the
great.
trading morning for yourself?
It was good. Closed out a trade on Aussie dollar. That was the one trade I took. I took another trade on my other broker. And normally, when I set up a trade, I like for both platforms, I'll do it on the GUI trades first to get it in, since it takes a little bit longer to do it.
Yeah.
And I was still debating it on my other broker. So I ended up going on my other broker for a silver trade and got into it. Ended up being closed it out for like a small cup of coffee. Got 1-to-1, raised it to a stop loss. It kind of came back. I think I got in too high on a demand zone bounce, so I just cut it. I figured it was too expensive, but it looked good for in the moment, but just didn't quite have the legs like I thought it might have. I kind of did things the opposite. I got into the trade looking on the smaller time frames, and I forgot to zoom out to see where it was at in the context of everything. So yeah, I basically bought pretty high on just a simple little
Yeah.
5 minute time zone, 5 minute demand. So yeah, it bounced up pretty good, about 1.5 to 1 at one point. So I just moved it up to break even. And uh, but anyway, yeah, because I was focusing on the other broker, I didn't get it in GUI trades in time. My Hola Prime
Mm.
account, since price had moved. By the time it had moved, it was a little too expensive. So anyway, yeah, that was a break even, and then yeah, Aussie dollar, I caught a pretty good trade. It's one I opened up at the very end of um, the market open show that we have on Sundays. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I closed it out this morning. It was about $218 profit, so it was a 4-to-1 reward to
Nice. Nice.
risk. Yeah, so it was a pretty good trade on the Aussie dollar. I can take a quick peek at it on my chart just to recap it back in if you want to flip it on over.
Yeah,
Get
definitely,
over here.
definitely.
So yeah, on this one, it was a 4 hour demand I was looking at right here, which coincided with the 50% fib. I noticed that was right here about this level of the zone. So I thought, okay, that'll bring in the 50% fib traders as well from this swing low to this swing high. But it was all about the zone itself. Had a pretty decent, a little tiny. Yeah, let's just call it what it is. A little bit of a fair value gap, not a whole lot to speak of, but it was a little fair value gap nevertheless. So looking at it on a 4 hour time frame, really good volume on that leg out candle. That's of course from the NFP report on Friday morning that created that, and then yeah, just going down to a 5 minute time frame. Ended up getting in. This was more of a limit order, just because I felt pretty good about it. Just felt pretty good about it. So I didn't even really require a reversal, bullish reversal, like I talk about a lot. I'm getting a little better on some things. I actually spent quite a few hours late Friday night into Saturday morning. Just kind of, I do this from time to time, just go through and study supply and demand and see where I'm doing good, see where maybe I'm lacking. So it's just something good to do, regardless of whatever trading style we all have. Just kind of go review your process and just make sure you're still obeying your rules, or, hey, are there some little odds enhancers that you're missing out on? that could be helping out. So something that kind of got away from me for a while, in the spirit of full transparency, right? Because we are a transparent company. I realized I wasn't doing the greatest job of picking the zones that were showing the imbalances coming out of them, closer to the origins of those strong moves. So yeah, for example, this being a 4-hour demand, how do I explain this? So I got in here. Well, a lot of times there'll be, what's a good example? There's probably a better example. A lot of times demand zones, where's that example? I want to show a good example so this will make more sense when I explain it. Because I know I have somewhere here where maybe it's silver, where I got like 3 different demand zones. Does it say? Yeah. I'm trying to remember now where my example is. Okay, this is a decent example here. So when you're looking at demand zones in the context of a higher time frame move, yeah, and this is actually, I think, a better example. So this is Aussie CAD, just as an example. So I got 3 demand zones here. So, well, which demand zone works the best? Well, typically it's going to be the one that's the closest to the origin of the overall move. So, and again, this is all dependent on the time frame you're looking on. So if you're looking at a daily time frame as an example, well, I see this fair value gap right here from this demand. So that's obviously going to be the stronger demand zone because it's the lowest value, or it's the highest probability because it's closer to the origin. And then you see the fair value gap coming out of it, which would be obviously this little bit of a spacing here. If I just kind of color that in. Okay, there's the fair value gap from the top of this candle to the bottom of this candle. Well, there's other fair value gaps in this move. There's other demand zones in this move. I mean, here's another demand zone as an example. Last red candle down before that spike up that we had on, obviously, the Friday NFP. Well, this also has a fair value gap from the top of that candle to the bottom of this candle up here, right? That's another fair value gap. So, the decision to make is, well, which trade is the most likely to work out? Would it be this top demand zone or would it be this bottom demand zone? Right?
Yeah.
It's a little different on the higher time frames because the daily, as I always say, the daily, the 4-hour, the weekly supply and demand zones are way stronger than the 1 hour, than the 30-minute, et cetera, et cetera. So, but on the smaller time frames, I was getting into a lot of these zones here, meaning not the most highest probability, which would have been down here. So I was missing out on some trades, and it's all because I was just going for the grade B setups. I wasn't waiting for the grade A setup. So that's something that I just kind of refreshed myself on, is making sure to look for the origin move first, because, as price moves up and gaps, you'll start to see efficient markets, meaning you start looking at each candle and you can see that it has a piece, it's covering a piece of the previous candle, right? So obviously these candles are all touching the candles to the left, to the right of it. So that's an efficient market, all the way up to here until we run into that inefficiency, which is the same thing down here. So what I wasn't doing the greatest job of was waiting for the higher probability demand zones. And this is the same whether it's a daily, like I say, 4-hour, 30-minute, 5-minute demand zone, supply zone, doesn't matter the time zone. But right, especially on the smaller time frames, and with me coming down to the smaller time frames, that's one thing I had to remember. So I'm glad I spent 6 hours Friday night into Saturday morning, up all night doing some study, because I started to realize, oh yeah, dummy, you got to remember on the smaller time frames, you got to go for the higher probability zone because of all the noise that's down there, rather than just acting like a baby scorpion that doesn't know how to control its stinger and just jumping on the first zone that it touches, right? So that's where I feel like I was getting myself into, not trouble, but just into a little bit of a lull, a little bit of a streak of, not doing the great, not doing so great. So I feel like that's something I corrected. And I'm excited, man, because I didn't have to necessarily worry about it as much on the higher time frames, just because you got a daily or a 4-hour consolidation, you get your fair value gap. You're showing the strength of that. It typically works a lot more often on those higher time frames. So I just had to remember that on the smaller time frames, get away from the noise and only go for the grade A setups. So
Right.
yeah, that was essentially what I kind of brought to that Aussie US dollar long position whenever I dropped this thing down. So I dropped this thing down, to this zone. So here's what I see now. And this is what I was kind of avoiding. So there's a demand zone. Why is that a demand zone? Because, well, we got an inefficient candle right after. It's a fair value gap up into this point right here. From the top of this candle, we skip the leg out candle, and then we go to the bottom of that second candle. So let me just color that in just so that everybody sees the example I'm talking about. So that's a fair value gap. So that qualifies that as a demand zone. Doesn't always have to be red. I just prefer it to be red. But it's a green candle, but it's still, by definition, a demand zone because we had that fair value gap. Another example would be, let me see here. If I go down to a smaller time frame, let me look. 5 minutes. Let's go back a little bit more. Okay, so obviously we had the fair value gap even on the smaller time frames, and that's another thing I wasn't doing. I wasn't going down to the 5 and 15 minute to make sure I had a fair value gap. I was just looking at it in the context of the 4-hour, because clearly anybody watching this chart can see that we had a little bit of space between here and here. It's more prevalent on like the higher time frame, or the lower time frame, I should say. So let's just look at it on a 1 hour. Okay, here's our basing candle. Here's our leg out, and then this would be the fair value gap up to here if we look at it on a 1 hour time frame. So there's our fair value gap coming out of that demand zone. So I was making sure I go down through the smaller time frames to make sure that I'm seeing that gap. And there it is on a 15 minute. You can see it there. Go down to the 5 minutes, which is as low as I really go, and you still see that fair value gap. Now it's obviously a little bit different size, right? We're looking now at this spot. So on a small time frame, that's a strong fair value gap. And it matches up with the higher time frame fair value gaps. So that's what I was lacking. I was just buying trades where if I go down to the 5 minute, 15 minute, there's not much of a fair value gap like that. So that's the confluence that I was lacking. And like I say, this is why I try periodically to just go through and start from scratch, look exactly what I'm doing and see if anything's changed, see if I've changed anything. And this is something I think a lot of good traders do, probably most traders. Whether you're making a ton of money or what, you still want to go through exactly what you're doing, all your processes, and make sure you're not missing anything. It's obviously good to do if you go into a little bit of a losing streak, and that's where I was at. So yeah, I'm glad that I did that, man. I corrected that, and yeah, first trade right out of the gate got me a nice 4-1. So
that's
and then
awesome.
on that, and then on that trade, I had a little bit of a supply zone overhead. So I just wanted to make sure there you go. So 15-minute supply. So I just made sure to get out right at the supply, just as always. I try because prices typically flow from zone to zone, right? They'll get tired of those zones, then they'll move up or they'll move down. Same thing. They'll find some supports or demand or whatever you want to call it, and then they'll just kind of go sideways. Forex market is probably the most sideways markets out of probably all the markets that you can trade, futures, stocks, whatever. Because when you look at, let's go all the way out to a monthly time frame, just as an example.
Coach Troy was actually talking about this earlier today a little bit, and I wanted him to explain to people like further when he was talking about like currencies being sideways all the time. And I was like, all right, now can you explain like why, like can you go into depth about that? And then he talked about it more because like, it's one of those things where currencies obviously do not react similarly to like US indices where it's just like, up and to the right forever. It's always been like that, like in
Right.
just the trend lines.
Yeah.
Whereas currency is just like ebb and flow with value. I mean, they're fiat, so it like, that just is what it is. It's so it makes sense, but at the same time, you look at a monthly chart of, let's say, the yen versus the dollar, and if you look over the last 25 years, that's not necessarily, it's not necessarily sideways. Let's put it that way. What you do, what's funny? If you pull up a monthly chart of the yen and you look at 25 years of time, you want to know what pattern pops up? This made me laugh so hard um,
On euro
when I
yen
saw
or which ones?
it. Sorry, on USD yen, on the USD
Oh,
yen
dollar
pair.
yen.
When
There
you
you go,
pull up
right
the
there.
monthly chart,
Yeah, there's monthly.
so okay, and you have to look at the last 20 years though, or 25 years. Is
Okay.
that 25 years?
So that would be 25 years, about like that. Yeah. Yeah, there's 2000
Okay.
back here. Yep, that's
Oh, dude,
2000 right
I'm
here.
sorry. I'm okay. So I'm looking at, so the futures looks different, which is kind of funny. On the futures charts, on the 6J charts, it's a head and shoulders pattern for
Oh, yeah,
25
there you
years.
go. Yep, there you go.
Um,
That's
yeah,
it.
it's probably what it made me literally laugh out loud. When I just saw a 25-year head and shoulders pattern, I'm like, that is insanely crazy. Like
Yeah,
when you just think
that's
about
it.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. But sorry, you continue.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, in terms of the sidewaysness and everything, yeah, continue, please. Sorry, just thought
Yeah,
I'd
no,
mention.
no, that's good. No, I'm glad you
Yeah,
did. That's good stuff because yeah, that's I mean that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, currencies they just
yeah,
if you think about it, the interbank system, they're the ones moving the money around. So they probably want to keep things fairly normal. I mean, obviously, the geopolitical climate and economics changes prices, but they tend to try to keep prices in a relative range. And so, yeah, they do kind of go sideways a lot. Um, Back to the
yeah,
monthly
yeah.
chart here for euro dollar as an example. I mean, look at that. You get former resistance becoming support. So the higher the time frame you go, the more prevalent some of this stuff is. Obviously, you got a
Yeah.
downtrend line fitting perfectly through there. But yeah, you look at a lot of these and you got a lot of swaths like February 2023 all the way to October 2024. I mean, that's just as sideways as it gets, right? And
Right.
then it's kind of like Bitcoin in a lot of ways. You get a long sideways move, and then you'll get that big extreme spike out. Might
Mhm.
last a while,
Yeah.
but when you look at the charts, pound dollar, I mean that's as boring sideways as it gets right in here. Same thing here, same thing current. Kind of breaking out now, but
Mhm.
uh, dollar yen, yeah. Look at all this boring sideways action, right? So yeah, it's for that reason alone, it makes it a little bit tougher on trading currencies because, like you said, it's unlike stock indices or stocks themselves. They're typically going up and up when you compare that to even like gold. I mean, here's gold. Obviously, we all know gold's been
Right.
going crazy. Like that's easy to catch. Well, not easy. Nothing's easy in trading, but that's a heck of a lot simpler at glance to hop onto a trend than it is something like that.
Yep.
or that.
Yeah.
Well, the dollar yen look
It's so
better, but and then you start getting into some of these lower ATR trades, and you just get a whole bunch of wicks. I mean, like this is tough stuff. So the goal is to catch
true.
whenever these breakouts start to happen, like this in this example, and then just try to ride that sucker up as long as you can. So yeah, that's a piece of my refreshing myself on my zones is also getting back into some of the higher time frames just to keep in mind now where am I in the context of this overall trend, monthly, weekly, daily. Um,
Mm.
and I think I have a good example if I go back. Let's see here. I just had a great example on one where I had identified a weekly supply zone, which I was in the middle of. I just got to remember which chart it was real quick here. And it was one of the
While
currencies.
you Moses is in the chat. Good morning,
Yeah,
coaches. It's
there we
good to
go.
see you, Moses. Thanks for stopping in and checking us out here. I am in a short. I am short the ES right now. By the way, I am in a short
Okay.
one mini contract. short on the ES will just be I can go through. I basically am getting short just because simply over the last 2 hours of time, we've been slowly grinding down from 65.14 and now we're at 65.08. And essentially, um, this past session, real quick, I'll just state this past session that we finished today at 4 p.m. Eastern, the point of control was anywhere between 65.03 and 65.05 ish, roughly, and we're at 65.08 now. So I'm thinking maybe a short into that 65.05 area, which is essentially where we closed as well. We closed like right above it at like technically we at on the cash close we closed at 65.07, but if you look at uh, 65 or so 4 if you look at 4:10 p.m. or 4:15 p.m. we closed at 65.0750, so roughly 65.07 is where we closed. So kind of just looking for a little bit of a dip below that close and into point of control of 65.05, make 3 points or so, and I'll move my stop. Maybe I won't keep the target profit there at the 3 points. I'll keep it lower, and then I'll just like move my stop as needed to try and trail it for a little bit more gain. But yeah, so
Sweet.
that's kind of the trade that I've got on right now, and we'll see what happens. But you continue, my
Sweet.
friend. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. So a good example is pound CAD. Well, on my top setups, it's listed as a positive score of an 8. So it's just literally 1 point away from being very bullish. So looking at this on a 4-hour time frame, obviously there's a couple demand zones here. There's one here. There's one here. On a smaller time frame is actually where I was looking at this one. So if I go down here, I got a 1-hour demand, right? So I got my alert ahead of that. Now, what's ahead of it? Now, I'm really good about looking at overhead 4-hour and daily supply zones, but sometimes I'm a little lacking on the weekly, the monthly. So on the daily, we're clearly in a demand zone. A supply zone. So it already bounced into it. First of all, it bounced off this lower level demand zone perfectly. Bounced up, caught the asks in here, caught the shorts, pushed down, retraced back up. So it's still technically in that demand zone, but more importantly, it's in a higher time frame. As soon as it updates, monthly supply zone. So there's a green candle up before this big spike down on a monthly time frame. So that's just something, and you can see it's already bounced off of it once back in the past, March of 2018. So we're looking quite a ways back. Pushed down already, but it's now retraced, and now it's going in a little higher. So it's collecting more. There's monthly traders. Banks are looking at the daily, some of the higher time frames. So guarantee you the banks are in there trying to figure out if we want to take this thing short or what. So I have to be better aware of that as a 4-hour execution time frame I use, and a daily, which daily I already knew about that because because I'd already had a zone above it. It's like it got deleted, but so yeah, just looking. So that was really the two things: just making sure I'm on top of the strongest zones, and then making sure I'm not butting into a weekly and a monthly supply and demand zone, because the higher you go, the stronger. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's something I'm doing a little better job of, and I think it's going to keep me a lot safer.
Well, my friend, number
Did you want to
one,
show us your
awesome to
trade?
hear that. Yeah, number two, I do want to show because the ES kind of just started breaking down a little bit. We're 3 points in the money here, so we're about 150 bucks in the money at the moment, and
Nah.
it just keeps going, and it's here. Let me get the guys to
Yeah, back in if you don't mind.
this. Part of me doesn't want to be greedy, but I think that what I'll do is I'll lock in a couple points here. I want to put the stop at a couple points. But this is some relatively heavy selling at the moment, and we are at the 65.05 level now, which is the point of control of the session. So, we could simply just bounce right here, which is why I'm feeling like, yeah, you know what? Let's just let's just take the money. That was a really, really good quick short that panned out exactly like I had really planned for it to be. Like I wanted to get short at 65.08 half. I wanted to get out at 65.05, which it was point of control on the regular trading hour session. And, if there was a decisive move through point of control, like within the 1 minute candle, we dropped from 65.07 to 65.03, then I had my target profit set for that possibility, but it didn't do that. We took the large drop, large, I mean, we're in the quiet markets. From the ES, we saw like a lot of aggressive selling happen from 65.07 and 3/4 to 65.05 and 1/4 there. And then price kind of just started dying out over that, like about 45 seconds to a minute. So I decided, you know what? It didn't continue right there. So I'll just take the money. I'll take the money and run. We're at point of control on the
Take it and
regular trading hour
run.
session. That was the plan to begin with, and to give the target profit a little bit of room just in case we really dove 5 or 6 points there in a matter of seconds. So good trade, a quick $160 to start the night. So it's only
Winning.
9:27 p.m. We got an hour and a half left, and I will continue to look. I mean, gold
Heck yeah.
is, I was looking at gold, and geez Louise, did I was looking at it, so I'll highlight here real quick. Um, when it got okay, so right at the beginning of our session, got this purple triangle here. I was looking at gold when it got into this purple triangle, and we were like breaking the upside, mind you. If you look at a 30-minute chart in the regular open outcry session today, we got as high as this line right here, 3685.7. And then in this overnight session, we actually just broke through that. But before we broke through that, I was looking for the possible touch of that area right here at about 9 p.m. Eastern, and then just a bunch of negative selling, like negative delta on the order flow came in and just like started dropping it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let that one go for a little while. I'll come back to it. Looked at the ES, got into my short in the ES. We saw what happened there, and then I looked back, and this thing literally reversed, and then like immediately after, I don't know, like 8 minutes or so, and buyers came in and then pushed it back up to test that all-time high that we made, and now it looks like it wants to even try to continue. And also, while gold is trying to do this, maybe we're starting to see the correlation come through here with the negative correlation with the indices compared to gold, because while gold is going up right now, we're seeing the indices go down. So maybe the true flight to safety kind of thing is happening, at least in this quiet market session for now, and isn't like a terrible thing to keep an eye on for other trade possibilities tonight. So we could see I could see. I got $160 out of that trade, but we could see the ES drop down. When I'm looking at my levels here on the time price opportunity charts / market profile, we could go as low as 60. Like I could see a test of 64.97, which is another 10 points below. That would be value area low of this previous day's as of today's regular trading hour session range. So 64.97, and then after that you've got the low of day 64.90, which also happens to coincide with the Friday's regular trading hour session value area high. Who would have, sometimes you think, wow, could it be coincidence? And I say no. It's called auction market theory, and
Yeah.
it's not coincidence. So this kind of stuff happens constantly in the auction process. So, but yeah. Anyway, the ES is kind of trying to get back on its feet to the upside here a little bit. We can see on the 1 minute, nothing crazy. A larger negative delta came in at the 9:29 p.m. Eastern time frame right there. That like 1 minute between 9:29 and 9:30. And we've popped up above it a tiny bit at 65.05 and a quarter, but now we're trading back right at that level. So if we drop below, sellers are definitely going to be in control here. I mean, over the last about 8 minutes, we've seen a relative like negative, like a net negative delta of probably about 400 contracts in the overnight here. So decent amount. That's a decent negative delta there, in this, 10 minutes time in the overnight on the ES. So feels like sellers are in control. I I'm tempted to get back in short here, to be quite honest. I am tempted.
Do it.
I'm just trying
Do it.
to. I want to look at. Yeah, exactly. I want to look at, like, what I'm doing is, like, right now I'm looking to my left, which is why you're seeing the side of my face here, because I'm looking at my, like, second by second order
Mm.
flow, and I'm trying to find the confirmation here. I don't want to be the sucker that gets in short here, and then all the shorts get squeezed essentially, and then we're back up at 65.09 before you know it. So just trying to, be a little bit careful. But it looks if I was still in a short, I'd feel relatively good, and I'd probably keep my stop tight at like the 65.06 level. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts as of the moment. If anybody in chat wants me to look at anything specifically on the futures here, definitely don't mind giving a look at something while this ES, market plays out as it might. It kind of looks like it wants to keep rolling over here. I think I'm going to get in short again. I think I'm just going to do it. I'm going to have a really tight stop of only a point and a quarter.
Mm.
And if I get squeezed out of it, I mean, what I call this is a super micro version of it. I usually, the micro versions of it, I'm not, it's not a crazy thing for me, but this little, lowercase h, I usually don't like to get in on a short continuation of the lowercase h for a break. But this situation is a little bit different. I can see the negative delta piling up, and it looks like it's favoring the shorts. So we'll take a stab at it. Nothing crazy, just risk a point and a quarter. See if we can't
Mm.
maybe get into the 65.02 area. I'll put my target at like 65.01 and three quarter. And yeah, if we get to like 65.03, my execution was at 65.04 and three quarter. So if we get to 65.03, I will likely just move my stop to break even. And if it bounces against me and takes me out at a break even trade, then I mean, so be it. But
Mm.
as of this moment, sellers are having a tough time um, really actually taking over here. All this negative delta is not proving to be as much as it seemed like it could be to the short side here. So we're either going to have to see a relatively some new shorts come in here and really push things down, or we might get the dreaded lowercase h or half
Yep.
bat, or like that Coach Michael says, or reversal. So I think the overnight markets are like behave a little bit differently in this sense, where you can't necessarily put all of your stock in these kinds of things panning out because liquidity is just simply different. It's just a different situation
Mm-hmm.
than a regular trading hour session. But that being
Sure.
said, this is kind of a good little testament to understanding whether or not some similar behavior in this kind of pattern really pans out, and whether it does hold some more weight than I would expect. So in the Nasdaq wasn't even, it actually didn't even get back to its low. It's reversed halfway through its little, lower case little hump. It kind of already, it didn't even get back to test its low of the night. So I don't know. We'll see. This might have lost its gusto, as you might say. But I'm going to
Gusto.
keep my stop where it is. I'm going to keep it where it is and let it ride. So
You know,
let her
sounds
ride.
good. Pound
Yeah,
yen.
yeah.
I'm looking at a couple. I'm just looking off the other screen here, a few other 5 minute zones, trying to see if I can find something to hop into. Taking a look at a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah.
them. I just wish sometimes I know we've probably talked about this before, but you get something that looks perfect on one chart, but then you go to a different broker and it's completely different. It's annoying sometimes
Right.
because
Yeah.
that's what I'm experiencing now with Aussie Swiss. I was trying to identify this same spot, this same demand I was looking at, but it just looks completely different. So
Hmm.
uh, gonna ignore that one. But yeah, now I'm just looking at a couple others here. Pound yen kind of almost looks like an intriguing spot to get in. I think I might have missed the move on it though. It was a nice little 5 minute demand with a really strong sign of strength coming out of it with that FVG, that fair value gap or acceleration gap, as Coach Richard calls them. Fair value gap,
Right,
acceleration
right.
gap, novice gap, pro gap, depending on if it's opening above or below previous price, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah,
Hmm.
if I buy into this now, I'm gonna be buying too expensive, so I'll be breaking my rules. So we're gonna skip pound yen. If I would have seen this, if I'd have seen this, yeah, an hour ago, I'd have done been in it. But
Yeah, yeah.
had to run some errands. Had to talk to my lady, my girly. So that's
It's always
quite an
important.
important thing.
Like,
All
yeah, exactly. Look at
right,
that. S&P's turning over again. Come on. Keep
there
going.
you go.
Sellers are
Get
coming
that
in.
ugly.
So NASDAQ,
Leave that
drop
not
that
long
sucker.
candle wick. Just drop it. There you go.
Go. Go,
Plummet.
you son of a yeah, die, die,
Drop an
just
anchor.
die.
Drop an anchor on it. Die chart.
Oh
Uh,
gosh, man.
dang.
Come on. Keep it going.
Got a lot
Come
of
on,
alerts
NASDAQ,
set. I
join
tell you
in.
what. Yeah. Trying to get
Yeah.
some confluence. You
Yeah, yeah. What were you saying? You
know,
got some alerts set?
a ton of alerts, but I was just stepping back and thinking, my, how far I've come from when I only had access to 20 alerts that I was always maxing out. And then I would have to go find if I really wanted to save another one, I'd have to go find my least favorite alert and delete it to make room. And
Yeah, dude.
I didn't have to worry about that when I was 4 hour, 4 hour only trader. But obviously, coming down to the smaller time frames, it's like, oh wait, I need more alerts. So that's partly why I upgraded my package a couple 3 weeks
Yeah.
ago. So it's just nice. It's just
How
nice to
many
have everything set without having to
how many
write
do
it
you have
down.
now?
Well, I have access up to 100, so I don't
Dang.
anticipate. Yeah, from 20 to 100, that's a huge difference. I don't anticipate needing near that many, but yeah, 20 I was constantly maxing out. So probably 40, 50 is
Yeah.
probably all I would really need, but it's nice to know I got double what I need. I
Yeah.
got a
Yeah,
terabyte when all I
exactly.
need is, 500 megs or whatever. I
Yeah,
don't know
man.
my memory jargon, by the way. I'm just assuming or guessing.
No, that I feel like that was actually a very good
Pretty close. Okay.
analogy there. That was a great analogy. So
That was
that's
an accident.
perfect. Perfect. That I mean, if you only needed 500 megabytes, though, man, I'd say I applause. You want to talk about keeping things simple and whatnot in today's world? 500 megabytes, shoot, man. I mean, that's a half a
you know,
gigabyte. So,
yeah, okay. You know what's funny? So when I was working in sales, one of my previous sales jobs, I'd bring in my laptop so I could get on my charts, but they didn't allow us, and for good reason. They didn't allow us to tap into the office internet because obviously we save credit information, clients' credit cards, all that stuff. So they didn't want anybody getting
yeah.
on the network. So I thought, okay, well that makes sense, but it was a pain in the butt because I was trying to do my penny stock trading at the time. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
while I'm working my job, right? Supposed to be focusing on my
Yep.
work. But I was sitting there penny stock. My manager didn't care because my cubicle was quite a ways away from hers. So I was kind of able to hide it.
Yeah.
She knew I was doing it, but she also knew I got my work done. So she's like, I don't see it. I'm not saying
Cool.
anything. And but I had to get a hotspot put on my cell phone to use my phone's hotspot just to get onto
Mm-hmm.
the internet on my laptop. So that was within the first couple weeks, every single month, I was maxing out my data. So I kept having to upgrade my plan because it kept slowing down after the 20, whatever it is, 20, whatever megabytes of upload. I don't know.
Right.
And then my phone obviously would get super hot throughout the workday. So, but hey, I made it work. I made it work.
Dude,
And it
can't
wasn't
keep a trader
penny stock.
away.
Yeah,
Can't
I
keep a
know.
trader
I mean,
away.
it was mostly my Forex trades, but that was about the time I was getting into penny stocks as well, just as a side show,
Right.
the side freak show that is penny stock trading. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
No, I
But
get
no,
you.
you're exactly right. You can't keep a good trader away.
You can't, man. You're gonna be sucked into the charts all the time. You can't keep the traders away for sure. I'm right there. I mean, hey, man, that's why I got into trading as a profession in the first place. Like, when I got into like bank operations and whatnot, and I was like, I want to be a trader. Like, I was like, because you couldn't keep me away from the screens, man. I always wanted to
Yeah.
see what was happening. So, I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
Yeah,
But
I
it
have
looks like this.
definitely.
Looks like this
Oh, go
trade is
ahead.
kind of going against. By the way, this is just
Going against
quick update. You
you.
guys can see on the screen here. It looks like the trade's starting to go against me. I'm one tick away from being stopped out. By the way, so
Yeah.
Nasdaq has to literally be like right now. The Nasdaq is testing the 51 period EMA that it's held resistance for the last hour. So if it decides that it wants to break through this as resistance now after this past hour, then it's going to stop me out here. But if not, I might be able to stay in the trade. So it might keep me in, and then we might
Yeah.
turn over. But I honestly don't have much expectation for this to hold at this point. We'll let it, ride, but my expectation is super low for me to for it all to work out, because now we're at the point where there's a lot of sellers, a lot of negative delta kind of trapped, aggressive negative delta trapped between 65. See, it just got stopped out right there. A lot of negative delta was trapped between 65.05 and a quarter and 65.04 and three quarters. And then as soon as we made the next little tiny leg lower to try and keep going, we then reversed off of that quickly within like 2 minutes. And we're back up to, one tick away from my stop. So to me, that was basically spelling the possible end of this little downwards move. But it's all good, in the green still. And I got to take a little stab just in case there was a bunch more room to move down. But yeah, so sorry, continue.
All good
Now
in the
I'm
hood.
out of my trades, and I'll let everybody know if I am in another one. But so 1 for 2 at the moment, 50%. And here we go, 50% now on the night, but I'm green 94. So that can tell you something between risk and reward. So
There you go.
yeah,
Heck yeah. Now I'm just
definitely.
trying to make a mad dash through all my alerts while you're talking about your trade, looking at all my
Yeah.
5 minute zones, trying to see where my closest potential trade would be to get in. I've made it through, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's about 20. So I have probably about 25 alerts set, I guess, in total. So yeah, not as many as I thought. I thought I had more than that, but yeah, I've added a few 5-minute zones over the last 10, 15 minutes, just something to keep an eye on. Definitely interested in gold. That's still my most bullish asset I'm tracking, man. Ain't nothing changed in the last couple months. Gold at a very bearish plus 11, but it's got company. It's got company. Actually, if you want, I can swap over to my chart for this. Show the top setups.
Yeah, sure.
Unless
yeah,
you
let's do that.
okay. Yeah, let's go ahead.
I might get, if I get into something, I'll let you know. I'll just interject real quick and we can.
Just interrupt me all you need, man. So just, I'm silver. Let's go to gold, Tiger. Gold, the shiny stuff, the other shiny stuff. Where's my top setups at? Did I delete it? Oh, here it is. It's hiding over here. Yeah, so just looking at my top setups. Come here. You stupid thing. There we go. All right, let's full screen that. So yeah, like I say, ain't nothing changed. Gold's still at the top here. And Aussie CAD, though, is tied with it. Aussie CAD has a very bullish score of 11 as well. So this is kind of how everything shook out after Friday's NFP. So prior to that NFP, first of all, my list was probably only 2/3 this size. And of which probably 3/4 of them were scores of right at 5. So just barely bullish enough to make the cut, but not the stronger, higher scores, 7s, 8s, 9s that I prefer to trade. Now, gold obviously has been at the very top. It's been hovered around double digits, for quite a while. And that's clear because the chart's just going up and up and up. And then silver as well. So silver gained a point. But yeah, Aussie CAD, New Zealand CAD. So basically selling the Canada dollar has been kind of what shook out after everything. Now, Canada, keep in mind, everybody, they had their employment numbers come out on Friday. Theirs were quite dismal as well. So as much as we were all talking here in the States about the dismal non-farm numbers, Canada was going through the same challenge. So their employment change, they had a previous number. Listen to this. So this is their employment change. So new people starting a job. So the previous report was minus 40,000. They had projected on Friday to increase their jobs by 4.9 thousand. But their actual number was minus 65,000. That's horrible.
Jeez, man.
That's disgusting. And their unemployment rate went from a 6.9%, which was the previous number. They forecasted up to 7%, but it came in at 7.1%. So much less jobs, higher unemployment. Hey, sounds like a country I know. Hey, sounds like a country. Right? So they're going through their own challenges. The dollar dropped, was the Canada dollar, and actually that's what I wanted to point out was kind of where we stand with the overall here we go. So this is the economic heat map showing the strength of these 8 major currencies. So as always, if a report beats expectations, it obviously increases this speed gauge. If it misses expectations, it decreases this speed gauge. So the dollar, which was hovering around the 50% number over the last couple of weeks, I think it dropped to the high 40s last week. But yeah, after NFP and after that other report, it dropped all the way to 30%. So, 40 to 60% is kind of the baseline, if you will. Not too negative, not too positive, just kind of in the middle. 60% or higher that's just showing, hey, it's showing we're outperforming. And then vice versa, 40% or less, under 40% is underperformance. So yeah, when that Canada report came out, they ended up with a 25% score, meaning they've only exceeded expectations on 25% of their reports. And obviously the other side of that math equation, they failed on 75%. So we're failing on 70%. They're failing on 75%, but it ain't near as bad as the Swiss franc. They're failing on 83%. So the economists are trying to give too much credit, and then all the numbers are coming out for the Swiss franc, the Canada dollar, and the US dollar. And it's just kind of dismal. So then, of course, the flip side of that is we got the British pound is the one that's outperforming the most right now. 86%. Aussie would be second. Aussie dollar is 71%. New Zealand dollar is 63%. So those are your three strongest and your three weakest. And then
Okay.
I also track the kind of the combination of all those added together. So this is where the market baseline kind of comes in at 50. You average all those together, it's only at 48%. So that's the first time this has been under 50%. I look at this kind of like we look at the CPI and PMI data, right? 50 is kind of the over 50s expansion, under 50s contraction, right? It's
Right.
kind of a
Right.
similar thing. It's kind of a similar thing with adding all the currencies, the major currencies, the ones that move the biggest GDPs of the world, right? But yeah, we're now
Mm-hmm.
under 50%. That's the first time I've seen that since they edited and added this tool in for our software. But yeah, it's been in the mid 50s, almost. It was at 61, 62% there for a while, about a month ago. But now the whole the top 8 economies in the world, for the most part. I mean, save China, but we don't trade China, or I don't trade the Chinese yuan, right? So I'm talking about the actionable
Right.
currencies. But yeah, we're under 50% now. I'm not saying the world's contracting. I'm not saying I'm going to go and sell all these currencies. I'm just saying it's not as exciting to trade some of these. Now we can still keep an eye on,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that are positive, the pound and all that. But yeah, I definitely ain't going to go out and be buying dollars. Definitely not going to be buying Canada dollars, Swiss francs. So,
Yeah.
the trade is always to pair a stronger one with a weak one, like buy the pound dollar pair, pound US dollar, or buy the pound Canada dollar pair, or the pound Swiss franc pair, right? Buy strength,
Mm-hmm.
sell weakness. So, and then yeah, finally with the oh, here it is. And then obviously this is what our economic heat map shook out, how it shook out. So all the numbers in orange are the ones that were released within the last 7 days, 7 calendar days. And it's just you got one bullish report, which was the services sector for the PMI report. Other than that, all the other reports were negative, were bearish. They missed expectations. Manufacturing PMI, jobless claims, JOLTS, ADP, non-farm payroll, obviously we had on Friday. It's ugly. And then when you break it out into the different parts of the economy, growth is 50, inflation's 50. Those numbers aren't so bad. It's not exciting, but it's not bad either. It's just again, just kind of the middle of the line, the neutral. But the jobs data, 0%. So every single jobs metric has missed expectations. That's what's dragging on the dollar, dropping it to a 30% and making it look quite scary, which makes gold go up and the dollar down. So we did have that poll question come in a little while ago. Of course, I can't get it to
Yeah.
pop up. Yeah, USD showed weakness for the second straight day. What's your buy? What's your bias today? Right. I feel like that might have just kind of answered that. Right. I mean, I'd be picking the.
Yeah.
I'm picking the side. I hate to say it. I live in the United States and I love my country, but I ain't trying to buy dollars right now. I'm buying gold. Right.
Buy some gold.
But
Yeah,
that's why.
dude. Speaking of that, I literally just bought some gold. On
Oh,
the
let's see it.
I bought two micro gold contracts. Terrible fills, terrible execution. But I'm just looking for a general break of the high at this point. We are just constantly trending upwards here, and I'm seeing some larger sellers come in, and I'm wondering if we're going to have some buyers essentially just squeeze them out, and then we're going to break up above. I'm wondering honestly if we're going to try to test 3,700 at some point in this overnight. If I'm being quite honest, I might honestly get stopped out here, but I wouldn't be surprised if we make some sort of move to the downside and then you just find a bunch of buyers sitting there and then just make a big run up to 3,700 in the overnight. Definitely not out of the
Mm-hmm.
possibility that while the gold is kind of consolidating at the moment a little bit, the equities actually just started making a little bit of a run. ES just
Ah,
jumped like ES in the last 5 minutes just jumped 4 points. The
oh yeah, there you go, right
Nasdaq
there.
jumped yeah, about 15 points. So I think that's why we're starting to see a little bit of consolidation in gold, but yeah. So I'm long at the moment. A couple of gold contra micros. I'm not the minis, the micros. I'm not going so
Right.
super crazy.
There
No
you go.
sleep narrator. The G in Paul G stands for goat. Well, I'm flattered, my
Damn
friend. I
right.
am flattered. I appreciate it.
Paul the goat.
uh,
Gallo.
good to see you in the chat. No sleep. I feel like it's been a little while since I've seen you, so it's good to have you here and
He
trying
finally
to
got some
provide
sleep.
some sort of yeah, exactly exactly. Trying to provide some
Ta-dums.
sort of trade, you know, trying to
Yeah.
not put us to sleep here in the quiet market session, trying to get some trades on the books for you guys to follow along to. I mean, you guys know me. I trade mainly. If I'm trading in the quiet market sessions, I'm trading gold or the ES or Nasdaq. I mean, everything else is kind of difficult for me in terms of
Mm-hmm.
liquidity and whatnot. So I've said to you, Tiger, before. I mean, eventually, might I be dabbling in like the Nikkei and stuff like that? I will. I'm sure I'll put on a Nikkei trade at some point in quiet
Yeah.
markets, and I'm also sure I'll put on a JPY USD trade or something at some point. But today is not that day. Today is not that day, my friend.
Yeah.
And as I say that, gold is starting to try and come back up here. So I'm going to have it switch to my screen real quick.
Yeah.
To
Yeah, that's fine.
my screen and see if we can't get a little bit of a breakout. I mean, I'm not looking for anything super crazy here. I'm just looking for a couple points. I've got
Mm-hmm.
no target to the upside, generally speaking, aside from looking at the depth of market and what contracts exist like on the offer. And 3690 is generally an area that I see 55 contracts on the offer at 3690. Aside from that, every other tick has like 6 or 10 contracts. So that's where the major liquidity is that I see. If we break the all-time high, we might go to that level, which is why I have my target profit just set to 3689.6, right before that liquidity area. So make 40 bucks or something, get me back to where I was after the first ES trade. So I will be
Mm-hmm.
moving my stop relatively quickly here. Um, if we can't get like a point above my break even, I'm just gonna wait a little bit. Gotta give it some room. Gotta let it go.
Let it
Let her
go.
go. Let her do
Let it
it.
go. I
Let
was
her
just
do what
talking to my
she's got to
girlfriend
do.
about that movie last night. I used to drive medical transport, and about the time that movie came out, and I had to pick up this young mother with her daughter, and I had to take them from like rural part of Kansas up to Kansas City, which was about a 45-minute trip there, 45-minute trip. It was about an hour actually, hour there, hour back. And
Wow.
as soon as they got in the car, she gave her daughter an iPad with music on it, and that song started playing. That "Let It Go," and that was the first time I'd ever heard it. And I thought, oh, that's a cool song for a Disney movie or whatever. But then the song replayed a second time, and then a third time, and then a fifth time, and then a 10th time, all the way to Kansas City. And then on the way back, again and again and again. I listened to that song for 2 straight hours. An hour Kansas
Oh
City, an
my
hour back.
god.
She would
Oh
not
my
play
goodness.
anything different, but at the same time, she had to listen to her song. Otherwise, she would get cranky, apparently, is what the mother said. So, needless to say,
Ah,
I went
jeez.
from liking the song just fine to hating the song all within the span of 2 hours and learned every word of it. Just got burnt out and
Oh,
sick of it.
dude. Dude, that is hilarious. Oh my god. Of
Yeah.
course, it's yeah, especially with that like kids, I'm not surprised that the kid was like this is my new favorite song and I want to listen to it for
Yeah.
hours on end. That sounds exactly like what a kid would do. So, that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
I was
Yep. This
obsessed.
mother said,
What's funny? When I was a kid, this sounds hilarious. And I mean it literally is hilarious. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with the I was obsessed with the song "Lean on Me" by Bill
yeah.
Withers.
Bill
You know that
Withers.
you know that
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
was obsessed with that song, dude. It's a great song. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That rest in
For sure.
peace, my guy.
No.
But yeah, like I would listen to that literally like I must have and the that and on that song and then I will survive. You know the song I will survive. I
Gloria
will
Gaynor.
survive. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
dude,
I'm not
I
the
was
music.
obsessed with those two.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know
No,
you,
that's,
dude. I know.
yeah, no, those are good songs. Yeah, I
But
got a lot
like
of guilty pleasure songs out there as well. So
but as
right
a
there with you.
6-year-old kid though, liking those songs,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. It's like, what
Yeah.
am I like?
That's kind of funny.
I'm a 6-year-old kid singing "Lean on Me," like I don't even know what the lyrics mean. I'm not even listening to it for the lyrics. I just like the tone of it
Yep.
and everything, and it's just hilarious. It's ridiculous, man. But it
Yeah. We all have guilty
good
pleasure
taste.
songs, whether people admit
Yeah.
it or not. Let us know
Yep.
what your guilty
Yep.
pleasure song is, chat. Come on. No sleep narrator. Come on, Moses. What's your guilty pleasure song? We all have them.
Gotta tell
I got
us.
quite
Come
a
on.
few. That's right.
Dude,
That's right.
I was gonna say guilty pleasure song. I wouldn't consider those because I think those are actually genuinely legit awesome songs. But
Oh yeah, for
in
sure.
terms
No,
of
I
like a
agree.
song where I wish I didn't like it. I can't think of one right now. I'll be able to think of one for sure that I like that I shouldn't. Like it's just those are the songs where they're like super catchy, but they just have no meaning to them, and just you like it because it's catchy or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. No, there's. I mean, I'll admit
it's got to
there's some
be.
Taylor Swift. There's one or two Taylor Swift songs I like. There's one or two Pink songs I
Oh
like.
yeah,
Like you look at me looking like a hillbilly out here. This guy listen to Taylor Swift, T Swizzle. I'm not a Swifty, but no, there's like one or two I'm like, that's a pretty good song. Like I loved her stuff
uh,
way back when she was still technically country. Like she had a couple of really
oh
good
yeah,
songs that were
yeah.
country esque, and then she went all mainstream. I'm like, but even so, there's like
Yeah.
one or two of her current ones that I'm pretty that I'll listen to from time to time and just choose to play it right
Oh yeah.
on the Spotify.
Oh,
So
for
I
sure.
actually,
Yeah,
yeah,
Taylor Swift's good.
I actually recorded one with my
Oh
karaoke
yeah.
app. So yeah, there we go. Full transparency. You asked for it,
Full.
chat. You got it.
Oh, dude, that's so funny, man.
Yeah,
Well, I will say I don't blame you for liking some Taylor Swift stuff. I mean, she's a good artist, but I will say like can't uh, I think the Pink can't agree, but I am I like for some reason I just like I have a hard time with that one, so I feel like that would be a guilty
yeah.
pleasure for me. But
Okay. All right. There we go.
if I
Good.
did like it, yeah, if I did like anything, but I don't like any of her stuff. So but everybody does though. Like everybody loves Pink, and then I'm the weird one that's like, oh no, like I don't like anything. So I'm the weird one there, to be quite honest. But
Yeah, I
man,
mean,
I'll think of
well,
one
my music
eventually.
my music taste is all over the place. Like, yeah, I'll go
Yeah.
from listening to country to Marilyn Manson to Taylor Swift to Nine Inch Nails, right?
Yes.
To the Commodores from the 80s and the 70s, right? A little bit of Lionel Rich. It's
Dude.
all over the place. David Bowie, Queen. I mean, some of my favorites, but it's just funny. It's like you don't you have no nobody has any clue. Anybody that's ever listened to my playlist in my car at my house, they're like, "What the heck kind of playlist is this?" It's all over the place. And then I'll listen to Christian music.
Yeah.
I like a lot of Christian gospel type bands. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, some death
Yeah.
1 second, some Christian rap the next, then the country. Like
I'm with
it's
you.
all over the place.
Yeah, man. No, no. I am
It's as bipolar
generally
as it gets.
the same. Yeah. I'm generally the same though. Like I mean, I have a expansive like. Okay, here we go. Gold's making the move. I'm going to move this up to
There
break
you go.
even now. I think we are the move is going to have. Yeah, you know what? This is literally. Is it really going to do that little spike and then come down and come on? Just like literally hit the target profit. It's fine. Just do it. Come on, go.
You
Give me
can
40
do it.
bucks.
You
It's
have
nothing.
permission.
Nothing. Yeah, it's nothing crazy here. I'm not asking for a lot. My goodness. And as I say this, like sellers just started driving in. Okay, now buyers are coming in. Come on. Come on. Go. Go. Do it.
Go, go, go,
Do
go.
it.
To the moon.
Do it. Come on. Is it? It's literally going to fizzle out here. It's about to fizzle out.
We got a new high on the
Come
XAU
on.
USD anyway.
Yeah,
Well, relative
nice.
new high. So maybe that'll help you out. Who knows? But I wanted to tap you out for a profit so that I can get a retrace down about $10 a troy ounce to my demand zone, and then I'll take it long. So give Paul his $40, Mister Market. Okay, just go
I
ahead.
got
There
50.
you go.
I got 50.
All right.
I moved my target profit up. Nice. Let's go.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Hey, all
Let's
right.
go.
All right. Now that you paid the man there, come on back down. I need XAU USD to drop about $10. Probably won't get it because I tell you, I've missed a lot of zones, demand zones on this thing over the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, just because yeah, just coming down, flirting with my
Yeah.
zones, but not quite turning around and running off without me. So
Yeah,
it's been
man.
kind of fun to chase it down on these smaller time frames of late. Yeah, there it goes.
Dude, look at this,
There
man.
it goes.
And then it's off to the as soon as it's that 3690, as soon as that got absorbed, we just saw a bunch of volume escape for about 30 seconds, and then we just see another dollar pop there. And this is the thing when you're in markets where you're just making all-time highs. This is what can happen.
Woo!
You know, this is what happens when you. So like, you know, I limited myself there to a $2 per ounce gain, but there was $5 an ounce to be made within just if I had waited another minute. You know, that's kind of like a live and learn situation. Especially, but the thing
Mm-hmm.
is gold at the same time, like with the volatility of gold, gold can wick you out like like it can just zap you for $1.50 an ounce within 2 seconds. So it's I guess it's kind of like, get as much of the move as you can without being too greedy. Try to be able to get in and get out with relatively good execution, and try to not look back at it. Uh, but yeah, you just look at that kind of, man, you look at that move and you're just like, geez, it's hilarious. It just pops up $5 an ounce in a matter of 3 minutes. This kind of volatility in gold is
So
just, I'm sure gold traders are just, they're salivating recently over the last week,
yeah.
but yeah.
So let me ask you this. So if that retraces that whole 4 minute move right there, would you consider getting back into that trade to the long side again, or what would you be looking for to try to get back in? Let's just say you missed that move, right? And you were trying to find a trade. Are you trying to take a bounce
Yeah.
off the 9 or the 21?
No, 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 to be quite
1500.
honest, I would, after a move like this, that
Mm-hmm.
is just like, you know, that it's just up.
Right. Yep.
I do not like trying to buy dips on a move like that unless in the order flow I see like a dip occur and it's a relatively steep dip, and then immediately I see on the order flow a massive like negative delta short there, and the market doesn't move down, and then all of a sudden you start to see the market trickle up again. I would buy. Then
Yeah.
I would buy because I would expect another explosive move upwards. In this case, that did not just happen. Like we saw a little bit of a pullback down to the 3691 half level on very small volume, and then we just came right back up, and uh, and then a bunch of volume actually just traded at the top, right at that top wick there, that doji inverted
Mm-hmm.
hammer doji candle, and then we just
Yeah.
dropped again a little bit. So I think people might be getting there's a little bit of a tug of war going on right now on light volume when we have these dips, and it's like you're just waiting for either longs to exit and just get like essentially fill in that entire move to the upside, and then buyers and sellers will start finding comfort back around like the 3688 area or something before trying to make another
Mm.
leg up, or we just continue to see the explosive move. Um,
Gotcha.
so yeah, that's kind
Gotcha.
of like, we're always trying, buyers and sellers are just constantly trying to find where we all feel comfortable buying and selling. And there's always going to be in certain times where you see like for example, in this little box here, 4 minutes of time where we rose from 3686 to 3694. It was literally $8 an ounce. That was an area where a bunch of people just, you can see it in your head if you were like in a physical store, and then imagine like a bunch of people wanting something, and then they just start like shoving each other out of the way to get it. It's like
Yeah.
that is happening, and then eventually people are like, this is ridiculous, and then everybody backs away, and then you see the dip occur, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you know, the Walmart employees start bringing out, let's say, just cartons and cartons of whatever that product is. And then people start being like, okay, well, I guess I'll dabble in, yeah, okay, we can come back. There's a lot more than we thought or whatever. And we'll just like come back to it and not be so hastily, chomping at the bit. And then eventually, as supply dwindles, people get a little bit more comfortable paying a higher price and getting to it a little bit quicker, and then you start to see the move up again, something like that. I mean, that's a crude example of
And
me
then
trying to explain it, but
no, that's
but
that's
yeah.
that's perfect. I was just thinking back to the tulip bulb crisis of the what was that, the 1600s or whenever it was. If anybody in
Yeah,
chat
yeah,
has not heard of the tulip bulb crisis, I implore you to go type in on YouTube sometime. Just type in YouTube. Just type in tulip bulb bust, boom bust of the 1600s. There's actually some really cool videos that they made where it kind of puts you like they're actors and everything. I think it's about a 40 or 50-minute episode, but yeah, it shows kind of how that all worked out. It was crazy. People buying
yeah,
those things for the
yeah, yeah,
price that they could have paid for a new house, right? So it's crazy,
yeah.
but that's exactly what
it
I was
it
thinking
is,
of
dude. It
as
no,
you
it
were explaining
seriously
that.
is. I missed so much of this chat. No sleep narrator talking about this,
Yeah,
like
I wanted to
the
address that.
songs we were talking about and everything.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah, yeah.
this is so funny. Pulling an old one from like 3 weeks ago. I was doing charades and I did Pink Pony Club. That would be a kind of, that is kind of a a guilty pleasure song. Pink Pony dude, No Sleep Narrator.
I'll
That
have to
is
listen to
perfect,
it.
my
Yeah.
friend.
I'll
Dude,
look
that
it
is
up just for
such a
you,
good
Paul.
one. Yes, man.
Pink Pony Club. All right,
I
I'll look
love,
that
and
up
then
later.
all. And did you ever like SpongeBob? By the way, either did you ever like
Of
that the
course.
show as a kid? Okay, So
Of course I did.
after you listen to the original song, uh, then look up Plankton version of Pink Pony Club. Okay, just do me a favor, listen to the original one, and then listen to the Plankton version, and you are going to get a chuckle out of it. No Sleep Narrator. If you haven't heard that version of it, listen to it. It's hilarious. It's hilarious to say the least. But seems like No Sleep's just like us, though. Wide variety.
Yeah.
Likes a lot of things, doesn't have a problem, getting down to anything, in
No
particular or
Sleep. I
whatever.
grew up in
So
Tennessee, so yeah, growing up in Tennessee, that was all I knew was country music. I didn't know what country music was until middle school. Or, I'm sorry, I didn't know anything other than country music until I got to middle school because that's when we moved back to Kansas from
okay.
Tennessee. I started discovering this thing called rock. Rock? What? Didn't know what it was. I knew of Queen because watching Wayne's World when I was, about the time it came out. I was still pretty young, 7, 8, 9 years old, something like that. So yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody, right? That was really my kind of introduction to rock. And so yeah,
Yeah,
from there, that's where I grew my musical taste when I came out here to Kansas. So, but right there with you on that.
dude, I'm glad that I mean, like, and you said you're metal too. Like you like some metal as well. You were saying like you like
Yeah,
more.
Marilyn Manson, some Nine Inch Nails. I've went to their concerts a few times. That's pretty. When you want a little dirt in your system, you want a little adrenaline rush. Right?
Yeah.
Stay
I mean,
away
I
from the
was
illegal stuff. Just go for the music. Yeah.
that's great. Man, that's so great. I mean, I'm
I read an article.
I
I read an article the other day that Marilyn Manson has been off drugs now for 4 years. So believe it or not, he's actually been sober. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I mean, that's
Never thought I'd
cool.
see it.
That's awesome.
It is. Never thought I would see
Right.
that happen, but cool to see that.
Yeah, man. Just kind of like, dude, like you think like, man, like R.I.P. Ozzy, but geez Louise, dude, was
Yeah.
that guy? Did that guy put himself through so much? I mean, he had a fun life, that's for sure. To a
Yeah.
degree, he had some fun,
Understatement.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
But my goodness, dude, some of these guys, you're just like, how did they put their bodies through as much as they do, and they're still like kicking it and whatnot? And Marilyn
Yeah.
Manson for sure is probably up there on that list, but
Yeah.
um, but he's cool. Like, have you ever like? I mean, I don't know like how much you listen to his stuff and whatnot, but like in general, but like have you ever like watched interviews of him and whatnot? He's a pretty cool
Yeah.
dude.
Dude is smart.
Generally, yeah,
He's
he is.
he's witty, and he knows exactly who he is. There's no
Yeah,
there's no guessing. So it's no, it's yeah. I was impressed listening to his interviews for sure. Smart, witty, knows exactly who he is, and has an answer for everything.
yeah, 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 man. He's awesome. I like him. I don't know any controversy or anything if he's ever been in any or whatever. I just remember seeing interviews and stuff and being like, dude, this guy is, yeah, he's like you said, smart and like
Yeah,
he's just got some good takes on
and
stuff or
quite
whatever. But
respectful about when he gets asked hard
yeah,
questions. He's very respectful about it too. So yeah,
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
I should
the
have got in
production,
the Aussie Swiss trade after all, but I missed it because that was the one that was like I told you that the charts just aren't looking the same from chart to chart, from broker to broker. So because of that, I just stayed away from it. But yeah, looks like it was going to work out perfect. So just
yeah,
didn't I
yeah,
just didn't
yeah,
see the I just didn't see the same picture on GUI trades. It looked completely different from Trading View, and also completely different from another broker. I have another challenge I have pre Ola Prime. So
right, right,
um, damn
right,
it.
yeah.
Oh well. On to the next one. Sorry, Paul. What
uh,
was you going to say?
oh no, no. I actually can't even remember, to be quite honest. I What I do know is that this gold is trying to make a little bit of kind of like some might call like a little bullish flag of sorts. It is
Oh
attempting
yeah.
to, and
Yep.
I'm not going to get into the gold trade anymore. I think what my the trade that I envisioned, again, it played out, and I'm not gonna chase it like I did with the ES trade earlier, where I the trade that I looked at played out the way it needed to, and then I took another stab at it, and
Yeah.
and then it went south against me. So I'm good with being 2 for 3 at the moment, up $138 about, at the moment, and if anything super clear pops up, I'll take it. But the thing with like these flag patterns and stuff is when you're looking at, don't get me wrong, there are different probabilities. Even within patterns, there are different probabilistic scenarios. Like if you were to just look at flag patterns in general, given certain criteria, like general criteria, a bullish flag pattern, let's say, for example, generally speaking, these patterns will have like, you know, kind of flip of a coin rates. But if there are certain market structures where, like, some of these patterns can form where maybe there's a little bit better of a probability. I don't know. Well, I haven't done enough research to know the stats on a lot of them or anything. And I mainly just am looking at the order flow anyway to understand whether buyers are accumulating, sellers are accumulating, etc. So the pattern doesn't really mean as much as it does just the pattern of behavior in the
Right.
aggression of the order flow. That's what I'm really looking for. The pattern of order flow aggression, not the pattern of, the shape of the chart. So even though the shape can tell you, like, can allude to certain things, it just helps to, I think the final nail in the coffin is really being able to watch the order
Oh,
flow there. But
yeah.
yeah, so
I
I'm
mean,
not going to take this based on the flag. My point being
yeah.
is I'm not going to get long in this because there's a possible bullish little micro flag pattern occurring is the whole point of me saying what I said. So
Yeah, no, I think I'm pretty well the same. I mean, it always boils down to volume for me. What the VSA, the volume spread analysis candles are looking like, or volume, depending on what kind of asset I'm trading. I don't really
yeah.
focus a ton on the patterns either. I mean, I'll keep a trend line up at times just to see where the retail traders are stepping in, so that I can see where their liquidity is. So that I can see where
Mhm.
the banks are going to be targeting to see if that aligns with obviously what I'm looking at. Yeah, I
Mhm.
do it to try to mimic what the banks are doing. Right?
Right,
Where's the
right.
liquidity, and is it going to interfere, good or bad, with my trade? So
Yeah.
it's something I'm always trying to get better at. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't buy or sell just because of flag or a pennant or a
Yeah,
channel even.
exactly.
It kind of sets up like that. So volume
Yeah,
is
and
the
in
name
the
of the
and
game.
yeah, exactly. Volume is the name of
Or
it, and
behavior, like you said. Yeah. Mhm.
right, right. Understanding the volume being traded and in the manner in which it is trading, that is the main thing. And but like we will, us traders will point out like very obvious, you know,
Right.
patterns that are like just for the sake of like, hey, because some coaches might have done a little bit more research on certain patterns versus others, and the probabilities associated with them and whatever. So like in the future sessions we'll point out like, hey, by the way, does this look like an inverted, on the 5 minute, does this kind of look like an inverted shoulder, a head and shoulders or whatever on the 5 minute here? Like, what do you think about this based on the
Hmm.
current market structure we have? Do you really think a reversal is possible back to the upside or whatever? And then like we'll kind of just talk through it a little bit, for a minute or so, and then maybe see if there's any confluence or whatever between the knowledge of us traders. That's another good thing of just having trading with other people, like,
Yeah.
live, for example, kind of get some different perspective. And I know we've talked about that before for sure, but even you've, like,
Yeah.
I've been in certain trades in quiet markets, and you'll be like, yeah, well, I see the same thing but based on this and this and this or whatever, and I'm like, okay, that makes me feel better. That's nice. I wouldn't have looked at that, but now that you say that, like, that's like, thank you. So it's just nice to
Yeah.
be able to
Well,
bounce this kind of stuff off each other.
yeah, you can just never put too many probabilities in your favor. And
Yep.
yeah, even if and like you said, it's just good to bounce it off each other, because even if you know what they're going to say, well, maybe they might say the answer, but say it a little different angle and point out yet another uncovered clue or a little nugget like, oh, yeah, didn't think about combining this or that. Or looking at that as an odds
Yeah.
enhancer, probabilities. So, yeah, stacking up the probabilities. That's all we do. Give us as many fun
Yeah.
feelings as we can to buy or sell something. That's
That's so
basically what
true,
it
man.
is.
So true. And as
Oh
we're
man.
and, and as we're talking about that, gold's like, well, guess what? You probably should have bought this little flag because I'm about to break out again. It's about
Yeah.
to go right up to 3,700, right in my face. It's gonna be like, well, shame on you for not trusting me, and breaks out,
Yeah.
man.
I
I bet
mean,
that would be so funny.
on the XAU USD, I mean, it's sitting at 36.53. I'm trying to get it to pull back to 36.2, so it's probably asking too much at this point. But oh wait,
Yeah.
no, I did say that right. So yeah, it's basically close to the low of the Asian session thus far. But
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at that right before it broke that New York New York London overlap high, which is obviously partly why we're getting that nice spike up, because it broke that New York London overlap high. Well, it looks a little different on the gold futures, I think. I think it
Yeah.
does. But either way, yeah, it's already, and that's why on XAU USD anyway, that's why it's spiking, because it's catching some
Yeah.
basically breakout traders, right? So they're feeling good at the moment, but I'm just looking for the retracement. All good things must come to an end, right?
I
Maybe
agree.
some of them break
Unfortunately.
get them breakout traders a few bucks in their pocket. Hopefully they're selling right about now. And
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers
yeah,
crossed.
but I'm
I,
not going to buy up. It's too damn pricey.
yeah, exactly. You got to stick to it. Don't. It's like you're basically training yourself against FOMO. I mean,
Yeah,
you're not even training. I mean, you're practicing something that you've trained yourself for, about, like, just not getting into FOMO and feeling like you need to get in because it's going to go up or something. It's more like, okay, well, it's okay that it's past my level, but eventually we can maybe see a retracement and give me the opportunity to get long. And that's what I think good disciplined traders do, man. Unfortunately, sometimes you're going to miss moves, and it is what it is,
mm-hmm.
but you'll thank yourself
Well,
many times when it doesn't go the way that you would want it to go, when you do FOMO into it. So it's much better to, do what you're doing.
I will say that's been the most beneficial thing to me, going from early on. I started trading the 5 and the 15-minute zones, but me going to the 4-hour time frames there for the latter X amount of years, that right there has been the biggest thing to focus on my patience and lack of as much FOMO as I had early on, is just because, well, first of all, I'm lucky to have 1 or 2 good setups a week on a 4-hour demand and supply zone. So, it's a lot of study, and it's a lot of military, like, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. So now that I'm coming back down to the smaller time frames, obviously for the show and showing more examples, yeah, the patience has been way better, as opposed to that first couple 3 years out of the gate, out of the classes that I took. So,
Right.
yeah, patience is everything.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Everything.
And it's fun. Like, dude, it's so funny how, like, well this trade, like, this is one of those, like, just pure, like, I genuinely couldn't have really extracted any more out of this ES trade that I took in the beginning of our session. It is just hilarious to see it, how I got short, like, literally, whoops, right in that area, and then my target was literally at 65.05 right there, and then that
Yeah.
ended up being the low on the
Yeah.
session. It is hilarious that ended up being the low.
You're
I just
Nostradamus, Paul. You're
no,
Nostradamus. We all know
yeah,
it.
no. You want to know what is Nostradamus? Sometimes market profile. That's exactly what Nostradamus is sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's just
There you
funny
go.
how, like, when you look at the fact that 6505 to 6503 was point of control on the regular trading hour session, and the overnight simply just wanted to get back down to that area of comfort. It just wanted to get back down there, see if any aggressive market participants really wanted to move it lower. They didn't. It bounced right off of it and decided, hey, guess what? We're still dip buying. So
Still did.
that's essential.
Yep.
We're bullish. I mean, that's the point. Is we're not switching tone. We're bullish. The market structure is showing that through the market profile, through the TPO charts. That's all there is
Yep.
to it. So, pretty cool
Yeah.
example of how TPOs and like point of control value areas can help you with your trades. That's a really good scalp example of how they can help you there. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, when it comes to the indices, man, I haven't paid any attention to them for the last probably almost about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I just haven't had them anywhere close to my, to a 5 or a -5 on my scoring system. They've all been between that 2 and -2 range, literally for like 2 weeks. So it's like, it's just, it's just kind of shows the way cycles work, man. I mean, again, I started off as just strictly a Forex trader, but I'm so glad that I've added in indices, gold and silver, Bitcoin, some of these other things to just kind of branch out, because there's times where the currencies aren't looking the greatest, which has been, exactly, well, I think why I jumped into some of these other assets. The last couple, 3 months, it's all been about gold and silver. I was talking about this morning, I think, on Forex Fire, but over the last couple, 3 months, gold has been half of my overall trades. And I'm a currency trader, but it's like I'm now a gold trader. Right?
Yep.
And it's not like I chose to. I'm just following following the strength or the weakness. And right now, when it comes to the indices, I don't for the supply and demand strength or weakness that I look for, I'm not getting any signals. So yeah, I'll just stay with whatever's wanting to dance with me at the time. Right now, it's all about gold and silver.
Yeah.
And the big banks agree, because they're buying gold. The COT report showed that they increased gold and silver on Friday's report.
Right.
I would imagine they're probably scooping even more up this week, since the NFP report was so low. Right? Negative dollar by default. Flip side is buy gold, buy silver. So, yeah, but again, every single time I come lately, I'm coming down to some of these even smaller time frames. I keep missing out. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I had a great demand zone right about the time you got in long. So it was all your fault. You bought and the market went straight up. So I guess that makes sense. But like every time, even down on a 5-minute demand zone, I'm trying to get in. Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Oh God, man! Paul must have bought again. Son of a! As every time it goes up, you're like, God, like you immediately switch over, like like it's like a Family Guy episode or something where it's like Peter says something and then it just switches to like the point of view of something completely different, showing the exact scenario that's playing in his head. And then it just switches to me, just like just clicking the buy button on gold, just hundreds of contracts.
Yeah. As I continue missing these zones, I'm going to start messaging you. How much gold did you buy? If we're not on stream.
Paul, I swear to goodness, how much gold did you freaking buy today?
I swear to gold.
Yeah, right, man. Like, dude, I I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't participate in my like cash account more on like because what I do is with like gold specifically, like in my cash account, usually what I would do is whenever I do like bullish gold trade stuff, I do I sell cash secured puts. And then if I get exercised on the puts, then I'll just sell covered calls against the gold, essentially the gold ETF position. And I'll kind of just wheel and deal in that fashion, like in a bullet. Like let's put it this way. I don't mind ever owning gold. So I don't mind ever selling a cash secured put, especially in this environment.
Yeah.
Selling a cash secured put get me, if I get exposed to a full long, underlying position of gold, that's fine. Then I'll just sell the
Yeah.
secured or the covered call and be good with it. I'm just mad at like that I haven't been taking more advantage of that recently. I've done it a few times in the last like 4 months or whatever, but like not enough, like I could have
Yeah.
definitely done it. And if it felt like, honestly, gold felt like the lowest hanging fruit of all trades, in a longer term perspective. It just feels like it's been the lowest hanging fruit and should have been
Yeah.
taken advantage of more, especially in the options space. But it's whatever. It
Yep.
is what it is. I'll take my $50 in micro gold from tonight, and that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, what you just said, I'm guaranteeing you, people back on, you know, towards the end of the Liberation Day month, April, they were saying the same thing. Well, they had to go through that
Yeah,
sideways chop, but obviously broken out again to the upside. Coach Richard this morning was talking about when gold was at $2,000 an ounce back. I think it was back in
yeah,
2011 was when he was talking about this. But he was
yeah,
talking about how, because you just never know. I mean, it was getting close to the 2000 mark back whenever that was. Yeah, I'm just looking at the chart here. 2000. Oh, where's it at? 2011, 2011. Okay. Well, yeah, gold had gotten close to 2000. Let's see, it would have been about 1932 at one point.
yeah.
And, it went from that level and it started going down, but that's 2011. And it took 19 years for price to get back to that 1900 level. And then from there, about another couple years because it dipped again. So basically, it got to the 2000 mark and just kept going down. Finally, it breaks, and you've had nothing but just multi-week run ups, multi-week sideways
Mm,
trends, followed by another multi-week run up, followed by another multi-week side. So like with each one of those run ups where price started going sideways, yeah, everybody's like, dang it, I wish I would have bought at the low. Then the next one
right.
happens. Dang it, I wish I bought at the low. Dang it, I wish it. So exactly what you're saying. Who's to say it probably won't happen again? But this time on the way to
Oh
4,000,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah,
then
man.
4,500, and then 5,000. Like you just never know. It's just crazy because I say all that to say that yeah, just because something seems so overvalued, which it is, if you look at the RSI, whether you look at the weekly, the
Dude.
monthly, I mean, it doesn't matter. Everything's
Uh,
overbought, but it doesn't matter.
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. What was you gonna say?
No, no, I literally exactly what you just said with the RSI. You know the level that we're out of RSI? Like we're at 89 right now. And when I'm looking at the monthly, so I'm looking at the monthly and I'm looking at over 45 years of history at the moment on my other
Mm-hmm.
charts.
Yeah.
89 is where we're 89.16 on the RSI, okay? The last This is insane, okay? The last time we were there was 1980 on the overbought
Oh wow.
RSI. That's
Is that
scary
for?
because I'm sure you know what happened in the 80s, what like just general market history. I mean, like I'm
Inflation?
just I'm very like, it's one of those things where it's like it feels like gold is undoubtedly a really good flight to safety, but like with how expansive the move has been in the last 9 months, I am starting to just question like the possibilities. I mean, so like if we've gone to from roughly $2,100 an ounce to $3,700 an ounce, that's a gain of almost literally almost 100%, probably like 85%. I'm just doing the math in my head really quick in
Mm.
6 months time. That just seems like, no matter what the scenario is of like fear in the markets and like trying to protect yourselves, that just seems still outlandish. Like, like when's the last time we had a move? I don't know if we've ever had a move that was that like expansive in such a short period of time in gold's history.
Yeah,
I'd have to do a little bit more
December.
research and understand if there's a comparable, time, but I
No,
think it's
you're
literally in the
100. You're
1980s. I
January
think it is.
1980. Yeah, I see what you're saying. What you're saying now. Yeah,
So
because that
like
looks like
in
at that point was
yeah,
91.51, and we're at what right now? 90 or 88 point. Yeah, 88.72 ish, give or
yeah.
take a few
It,
points.
and
Wow.
in 1979, we opened up in December, in 1979 at $438 an ounce, roughly. By January of 1980, we had hit a high of $872 an ounce. So we basically rose about 400. We rose 100%. It was a 100% rally, and then we settled down at the by the end of the month we settled at 700, a little over $700 an ounce. We like So what we'd say, it would be like a 65% gain or something month over month or whatever. That seems like it was the last time you saw something similar in terms of just like this exponential move occurring. And then what did we get met with after the fact? It was literally like a move all the way down to $300 an ounce. But that is over a
Hmm.
three year period. I'm not saying that that's going
Yeah.
to happen again. It's more so just
Yeah.
like trying to put into perspective. Okay, this move in gold is just, it's telling. It's a very telling thing. It's just more so
Yeah.
like, when is it gonna? When is what at what time are people gonna look back and be like, that was so obvious? Like, to be like, there
Yeah.
was
Well, you
obviously
have
a
to.
problem.
Yeah, if you're just
Yeah.
going by the wicks of 1979, right? I mean, it was a super strong wick. What was that the month of? So January 1980. I mean, it wicked all the way up to what was that? 873 dollars or something. But yeah, settled at 705. That's interesting. But yeah, you just take a look at that in the context of the measurement tool. That very top of that wick, and then it turns around and drops 70%, or it drops well, drops 67% over the next couple of years. And then let's take a
Yeah.
look again at 2008. What happened in 2008 over here? Or I'm sorry, I guess 2012. So 2012, when we peaked high after the fallout of the housing crash. Okay, it
Yeah.
started to peak out, and then it dropped. Okay, so that was 45% drop within 4 years, and then August 2020, so COVID. Okay, the
Hmm.
peak of COVID to 2022, it dropped 22%. So yeah, so we go from 70% to 45% to 20%. So yeah, I mean, some conservative estimates on that. Maybe you cut it down further, 10%, 10 to
Yeah.
20%. Well, a 10% drop would put us, well, that would put us all the way down at 36,700. 10% drop or a 25% drop would bring it all the way down to a monthly demand zone. So yeah, I would
Yeah.
say conservatively, I could see it dropping 10%. If we
Right.
start to correct. Well, that's basically the last 2 months price action.
Which is like, isn't that hilarious though? To be like, that's on a 10% drop is literally the only last 2 months.
That's
But
it. Yeah, that's it. I guess it's not as big as
yeah,
it sounds bad, but when you put it in the context of the recent spikes, I don't know. It's just crazy, man.
it is. And to be fair, like, obviously we can't compare. You can't just broadly we can't broadly compare these different time
Yeah.
periods in which gold had these moves and whatever. Like when I'm the only reason I was comparing it to like the 1980 or 1979 to 1982 time range was just because that's the last time you saw like statistically such an insane move in the product of gold. But the reason for the move being insane, you literally you touched on it, and I was like saying like just the history of the market in general. Like that was when you said that inflation was crazy. Volcker like just slammed rates up to like whatever the
Yeah.
ridiculous percentage was, like 18%, or I don't even remember
A
the exact
stupid
percent.
percentage. Yeah.
It
My
like,
gosh,
but
that
it
was
was
a crazy
needed.
period.
It was
Yeah.
like inflation was so rampant at the time, like he realized it was just like we're really in trouble if we don't like just nip this in the butt.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of that double dip in the recession, like, and then they cut, and then it kind of spiked again a little bit, and then they had to raise rates again. So it was just like this whole crazy phenomenon of like over a 3 year period. We're obviously not going through a period like right now that is the same as that. We did have COVID where we had to raise rates, and then we cut them back, and now it's just like kind of one of those things where it's like time will tell. Is the economy getting to a point where the Fed's going to cut rates because of job growth being stagnant, and then all of a sudden inflation starts spiking again, and then you have to see something similar where we have to raise rates again, and then all of this just like helps bring gold prices down because maybe the dollar gets stronger because we have to enact a little bit tighter monetary policy. I don't know. It's like there's all these hypotheticals you can go through, and maybe if gold is to drop, it's not even in relation to any of this. It could be just something completely different
Yeah.
that happens. Like
Well, for
there's
sure.
some other crisis. Yeah. So like it's just funny, like, but it's just notable to be like, okay, this is a massive move. I mean, it is
Well,
hilarious
yeah.
when I'm looking at this monthly chart of gold, and I look at March of 2024 being at $2,050 an ounce, and we are literally touching 3,700 a month or a year and a half later.
Yeah.
It's just it's crazy. So
But yeah, if you just kind of go off those bigger corrections, I mean, yeah, dropping back to 3,000, that's I would consider that healthy. I mean, 3,000 would be about a 17% decline. So, you know, I'll be
yeah,
waiting.
yeah,
I'll be
yeah,
waiting with some demand zones. I'll tell you that. I've been kind of keeping an eye on 3,000 levels. So, yeah, if we start miraculously having every single PPI CPI report for the dollar and retail sales, everything start turning around and just giving nothing but exceeded expectations. Yeah, I can see that,
right.
but might sound like wishful
Mhm.
thinking at the moment. We got to get our own house in order. That is an
Right, right.
economical center of our country. But yeah, if we get to that, I wouldn't 3,000. Shoot, that ought to be easy.
Buy it
Twenty
up.
five
Yeah,
hundred.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean at
X.
least down to 2,700 because there's a nice demand zone on a monthly time frame. Yeah, 2,727. So I can
Yeah,
see a price coming down
yeah.
here. So, well, not right now. It's
X.
just looking like a runaway freight train for the time being,
Yeah.
anyway.
It
Gold,
is,
silver.
man. It freaking is. It's so. Yeah, silver too, man. X Knight saying, "Is this live?" Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're doing the
Yep.
quiet market session, my friend. We are live.
X night.
I've made 3 trades
Steam.
tonight. Two in the ES, and then one on, actually technically 4 trades because I got into 2 ES trades and 2 gold trades. The first gold trade was a quick stop out, and then I was like, that was just an accident. I didn't mean to get stopped out. So then I got back into the trade, and I made like $50 or whatever it was. But yeah, made a few trades tonight. We're up 130, almost 138 on the challenge account here. Just kind of watching gold for the moment. It's kind of starting to turn over, and I'm keeping my eye on the
Oh, there it goes.
indices. Nasdaq's kind of making a little bit of a interesting um, pattern here. I'll actually pull up the screen real quick. This is a little bit of an interesting one. Does that look like anything to you specifically?
Let me
It's like
guess.
it's
Does
all.
it have a couple shoulders? Maybe a really tiny head?
Yeah, exactly. It's got a very tiny head. It's the skinniest head I've ever seen. That's for sure, dude. This is hilarious. Like
Yep.
it's like, but like it's funny, like because it kind of like if I was to, I mean, we're 9 minutes away from ending the session here, so I'm probably not going to get in a trade. But if yeah, this would be an easy kind of like risk reward. You would get short in this like 831 area, put your stop at
Mm-hmm.
836 and a half, right above that shoulder, and look for probably a move down to like the 23 822 area, somewhere right around there. If I look
Yep.
on the if I was to look on the my little heat map slash order flow chart here, and I can look at where some possible demand would be. So to do, all right, yeah. So like I would be looking for maybe a move. So there's low volume traded between 23,826 and 23,820. So maybe the move down to 23,820 it would be where I'd be looking to get out of the short. I mean, the short's playing out really well right now. I could have gotten into that and I'd be literally up $120 at the moment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I was.
but I yeah, but I'd look to get out at 820 because people could be looking to get long off of there's like larger volume that's traded in the 811 to 818 area. So sorry, Tiger, what you're saying?
Oh no, you're good. No, I was just as you were speaking. I was just looking overhead and to the left on the NAS 100, but pretty close, just to see if we had if that spike, that narrow pencil neck head, if that came from a higher time frame supply. Yeah, and it kind of did. I mean, it bounced. Yeah, I mean, it's the New York London interlap or overlap, kind of butting into some of those congestion candles there. So and a little bit of
Yep.
supply doesn't really look pretty like an actual supply zone. I guess if you look at it on a 1 hour time frame, except yeah, it's just kind of a double, well, almost a triple top if you include Friday's peak high, New York London overlap high. So yeah, that's
Mm.
uh, yeah. I don't know. I personally, had I seen that before that spike, I probably still would have not gotten into that trade as far as the Nazi is concerned, anyway. Um,
Right. Right.
but yeah, it's
Yep.
no. Now that the pattern played out, I mean, yeah, the pattern seems to work pretty nicely for a lot of people. So have at it.
Yeah.
Have at
It,
it.
it, it'll like, a lot of the times like it's at least good. Like it's not going to necessarily play out like what the genuine like technical analysts would say, like where you start measuring the moves
Yeah.
between the shoulders and the head, and you're trying to look for like what the relatively calculated move should be to the downside once you break the neckline, all that kind of stuff. Like it's not going to on these microstructures where you're looking at 1 minute and 5 minute charts, they're not necessarily going to
Mhm.
behave like I'm not expecting them to behave the same way that technical analysts will look at these patterns
Right.
over like days or weeks or 4 hour time frames type of longer term time frames. So it's I think it's better for like scalping purposes to like you get in at a decent
Yeah.
risk to reward, you see a relative break, and then you take some profit, and then you maybe let something ride for a little bit at break even, or you just take it all out once the larger
Yeah,
trade
because you've
occurs.
got a
So
fair value gap coming out of that candle from 3 minutes ago. So perhaps you could look at it even on a 1 minute time frame. That white candle up before that drop. I mean, that's by definition, a supply area. Just because you
okay.
had that huge fair value gap. Now, I personally wouldn't probably not trade it just because it's too many candles to the left for that, for that setup. But then you got
Right.
obviously the other fair value gap with the skinny head, right? What's his name? The blonde cartoon with the is like kind of stocky, muscular, got a black shirt on. got his sunglasses and his tall hairdo. What's his name?
Uh, uh,
Yeah, hey, pretty mama. That
Johnny
guy,
Bravo. Johnny
Johnny
Bravo.
Bravo. Yeah, for whatever reason, that's what the spike up top reminds me of is his hairdo. So for whatever reason, that came to mind. So yeah, but yeah, that candle would essentially, yeah, be
Yeah,
the
man.
origin of that strong move down because you got that fair value gap coming out of it. So for that
I
reason, I would
wonder.
probably, that's kind of the concept
Yeah.
I'm following is just going for the higher end efficiency. But yeah, I would
Yeah,
just stay
yeah,
away from the
for
move
sure.
on. Hey
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
pretty mama.
definitely.
Huh.
That's a great impersonation, to be quite honest. I mean, that's great. I haven't heard an impersonation for Johnny Bravo in a long time, and that was fantastic.
I'll take
Underrated.
a picture of.
Underrated.
I'm gonna take a picture of my door lock because I live in an apartment complex. Well, my door lock on the inside of our entrance looks just like Johnny Bravo's freaking head.
Oh
You're gonna
my
laugh when I
god,
send you
that's so
this. I'll send it to you
dude, I
on the
can't wait.
on the Slacky.
I
But yeah,
cannot
so
wait.
I see
That's
Johnny Bravo every day when I lock my door. So that's what I always think of.
he's just living in your head rent free because of this lock that you have to look at. That's so hilarious,
That's it.
man. Holy crap.
That's it. That's it. Well, just to
Uh,
recap from my side, for everybody in the chat, I just straight up didn't have a single setup form the way I wanted it to. I had quite a few 5 minute supply and demand zones, but none of them hit. Um, it's all Paul's fault because he bought gold, so it ran off without me, right? So I didn't get that one.
yeah.
His He is the bank, right? He moves markets, so that was the main one I was looking at. But yeah, he got some profits, so I'm happy for him. I got my profits this morning on Aussie dollars, so yeah, I'll try to hopefully get into some trades for Forex Fire for sure, and that way I'll have some stuff to share with you guys tomorrow. So, um,
Heck yeah.
but yeah, that's just kind of a
Yeah.
recap on my end.
Yeah, yeah, and for me, yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I took essentially I took 4 trades between ES and gold, and came out green tonight. I'll take it going into tomorrow. Tomorrow should be a relatively chill day on the equities and whatnot, given that there's not really any news coming out. But Wednesday, well,
Yeah,
obviously Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, we got a bunch of stuff coming out between PPI, CPI, unemployment stuff. So it's going to be an action-packed second half of the week. But wanted to quickly, thank Moses, No Sleep Narrator, and
yeah.
X Night for
Thanks, guys.
coming into the chat. Yeah, chatting with us. Thanks for liking the stream and being here and chatting with us a bit. So we
And
always
you guys
appreciate
agree?
it.
It looks like U.S. going back to the poll question. Sorry, because I know we're about out of here. But yeah, more downside ahead for the U.S. dollar. Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. I mean, it's like I mentioned earlier, just not the greatest economic data coming out. So dollar down, gold
Yeah,
up. The way I see
yeah. I
it.
think I had voted the downside ahead as well. Especially, I think the main driver behind that is just because we are going to be seeing rate cuts. So naturally, we
Yeah.
should be seeing the dollar get weaker. So kind of the easy one to make, the easy guess to make based on that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Now the
we
only
got
question
10
is 25
seconds.
or 50. The only question is
It's
25 or 50 points,
oh,
right?
dude, if we see
Woo!
50, I think their volatility is here to stay. It's going to be crazy if that's the case.
We're
But
up to
I did see there was a
11.6% for 50.
yep, yep. No, you're right.
Woo!
You're right. So I can't believe that, to be quite honest. But
Yeah.
we shall
Crazy
see.
9 days
But
coming up. So
for sure. I
before it comes
will
out.
see
Yeah.
you tomorrow. I will see you
Yes,
tomorrow in
sir.
Quiet Markets. We'll be back on tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern sharp. Have fun in your Forex Fire session tomorrow morning, and then yeah, futures
Absolutely.
take off starting at 9:30 p.m. or 9:30 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning for me. Make sure to join us and yeah, come hang. So it was a pleasure,
Right on.
and I will catch you tomorrow, my friend. Have a good one.
All right. You too, brother. Peace
See you,
out.
everybody.
Talk to you then.
Later.
Hola Prime, trade with transparency.